Hi, my name is Wayne Weirs, and I want to use this video to show you how HDI theory, a theory of mine, explains reincarnation. HDI theory, higher dimensional interaction, explains a lot of the great mysteries of the physical world. It explains quantum entanglement, it explains the origin of the universe, the Big Bang theory, so to speak, and it explains gravity, a number of things. But it also is a kind of a unique theory, and that explains a lot of the spiritual aspects that are common in a lot of religions. It explains the soul. It explains reincarnation, which is common in a lot of religions. It explains spirit, something that a little bit bigger than the soul, the kind of the source of the soul, if you would. It even explains some of the biological stuff, such as animal instincts, why squirrels know to bury nuts, how bees know to do a certain dance when they find pollen that tells the rest of the hive where the pollen is. First, though, I have to show you what HDI is. And if you watched the quantum entanglement video I did, then this will be old hat. But if you didn't, then I don't blame you, because this is kind of a spiritual type of video, and that was more for physicists and stuff. HDI theory says that everything in our universe is the result of higher dimensional objects interacting with 3D space, and that interaction, higher dimensional object interacting with our 3D space, that intersection creates a three-dimensional object. For example, in the quantum entanglement video, I use the example of a particle interacting with 3D space, an HD particle interacting with 3D space, creating a three-dimensional particle. You could also say this, and this is where it gets kind of cool, you could also say a human, you, are nothing more than a time slice of a much greater HD you, higher dimensional version of you. So how do we visualize this? The way we visualize it is we take 3D space, which I use a ream of paper to represent. It has height, width, and depth. And we take an HD object, which we can't see because it has height, width, and depth, but another mysterious dimension, which I like to call JoJo. Because of that dimension JoJo, we can't visualize it. So the way to visualize how higher dimensional objects interact with 3D space is you simply remove a dimension from both sides of the equation. In other words, you remove a dimension from this HD object, and you get a three-dimensional object, which we'll use this pencil. In other words, it has height, width, depth, and the dimension JoJo, which we removed. So now we can see it. But in order to balance the equation, we have to remove a dimension from this 3D space. So we remove the dimension height. Now you may say that's illegal. We remove dimension JoJo from one side, and we mention height from the other side. But in fact, dimensions are nothing but directions. Height, width, they're interchangeable. Depth, it doesn't matter. All dimensions are simply a direction. So you can pop one off. As long as you pop one off on both sides of equations, it's valid. So a higher dimensional interaction looks just like this. I'm going to show you in just a second. This is a higher dimensional object interacting with our 3D space. Where it interacts is where we would see an object. In other words, this could be a particle, this could be a squirrel, this could be an HD squirrel, higher dimensional squirrel, and where it interacts, we would see a three-dimensional squirrel. This could also be an HD version of you, YOU, and where it interacts is your current, this moment, you sitting here watching this video. That's where that interaction is, that point. You don't see this part because that's future you, and you don't see this part because that's past you. Where it interacts, that's the current version of you. Now, what does this have to do with reincarnation? What it does, reincarnation is this piece of paper represented 3D space, but it can also represent 3D space plus time. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw a line which represents a timeline on it. All right, so at this, I don't know if you can see that very well. Hopefully you can't, it's getting kind of blinded out. But anyway, at this point is a line going on up. At this point down here, it represents maybe 10,000 BC, and all the way up here maybe represents 10,000 AD. 20,000 years, all right? This intersection, where this hole would represent an entire lifetime of yours. The lower part of the hole would represent when you were born, and the higher upper part of the hole would represent where you had died in that lifetime. Reincarnation is saying that simply this HD version of you intersects our 3D space over thousands and thousands of years many times. And what I'm doing, and I'm making some faces because I'm trying not to poke myself in the finger with your HDU. It's not very pretty, but basically this represents, each hole represents a different lifetime of yours. All right? That is in essence reincarnation. It says that you, as an HD being, pass through this 3D space of ours multiple times over many, many thousands of years, and each intersection would represent an entire lifetime. Now, what this implies, though, is not only do you have past lives, but more importantly, it means you have future lives, all right? And also, more importantly, and this is kind of comforting, at least it is to me, that since it's made up, each lifetime is made up of the same HD version of you. This pencil, you can call this pencil your soul if you want. It always feels just like you feel now. In other words, one of the cool things about when people recall their past lives, even though they might have a different body and they were in a different culture, a different race, it always felt like them. The key part of this, the comforting part, is that each of your future lives, each one of these lives that comes later on in the thousands of years ahead, will feel just like you. You might be a bit different sex, you might be a different race, you might be grow up in a different culture, but it's still going to feel like you, just like you feel now, because it is really the same personality that transcends all these lives. It's a different, the reason you look different, the reason you grow different is because it's a different physical part of this HDU, but it's still the same being. It's still the same creature. It's still the same soul, so to speak. And that to me is very heartening. So what this all means is that each future life will feel like you, but also that there's no reason to ever fear death, because HDI theory, since it explains quantum entanglement so well, since it explains the origins of the universe so well, since it explains animal instincts so well, and since it explains reincarnation so well, it's adding all this up to say that yes, you come back, and more importantly, there's never any reason ever again to fear death. That when you get old, when your joints start to ache, when your memory starts to fade, you can find comfort in the fact that soon you'll, as weird as this sounds, soon you'll die, and you'll be born again within a couple years, couple 100 years. To you, it won't matter. And you'll be a child again. You'll be a newborn. You'll grow. You'll be playing in the fields with your friends. You'll be climbing trees. You'll experience your first kiss all over again. You'll have kids and whatnot. And it'll still feel just like you. So in essence, you'll have a chance to do it all over again. And hopefully we'll get better and better as we do it. So I hope this video has helped explain reincarnation, and I hope it has clarified what I mean by HDI, and I hope it has given you a sense of peace and comfort. Thank you.